Choices always were a problem for you. What you need is someone strong to guide you. Deaf and blind and dumb and born to follow. What you need is someone strong to guide you. Like me, like me.
Welcome back to the Outlaws podcast. This is Ryan, and joining me today is Drew. Been about a month since we've done one of these, Drew, so a lot of things have probably changed since the last one that we did, except that you are number one in the standings. How does it feel?
It doesn't feel familiar. It's been a long time.
Well, congratulations on that accomplishment. I know you've had your struggles over the last 2 or 3 years.
And it's been weird, too, because I started out really hot the first 3 or 4 weeks, and couldn't get in first place, just sat in second place for the longest time, and my team's just been kind of puttering, but so has the rest of the top half of the league, and so I snuck into first, but I didn't do it in the most convincing way, I guess.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. Like you said, those first few weeks you were so hot, you probably should have had a better record than you had, and then you kind of slowed down, and then when your team slowed down a little bit, at least offensively, you moved your way up in the standings.
Right, yeah. The schedule's been pretty tight to me the last 2 weeks, so that always helps a little bit, but I'm sure that's something that you'll address as we go on.
All right, well, let's just go ahead and jump into it. All right, at number 10, and at this point, I just feel really sorry for this team. There's no doubt about it. This is a Joey-esque performance this year. It's got to be Michael. Crowder's Commandos at number 10. And I don't know. This is pretty much the first time that I even looked at this matchup all week. I had no clue that right now he has a 177 batting average.
You know,
1 home run.
It's brutal. I feel like we might have seen a 190 average at some point in the last 3 years, but I'm thinking 177's got to be an all-time low. It's just, gosh, he is bad across. At least he was consistent in all the categories. Across the board.
There's no doubt that the team's not that great, but obviously it would be hard pressed to find to go out there and randomly pick the worst players in baseball and have a 177 average. So it's not that bad. But still, Michael's in a tremendous hole. I think, what percent chance would you give Michael of making the playoffs at this point?
I don't know. I don't have the computer in front of me because I'm out taking a smoke break.
Prior to this week, he was 10 games out of the 6th spot in the playoffs, and that's before he lost 6-3 this week.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'd give it maybe a 20% chance.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
He's done it before. Has he made it every year he's played with us, or did he missed last year, didn't he?
I don't know. Last year, I think they got second place. I think 2 years ago they got he might have missed, but I could be wrong on that. I might be just thinking of Jordan's team.
Yeah, I find it interesting that you've referred to this team twice now, and you've called it Michael's team both times.
Yeah, I've liked calling it Michael Jordan, but I haven't even seen Jordan do a single thing this year, so I'm abandoning that until he makes a post or something, or makes a phone call. Or I think if this team was in first place, we'd be hearing from Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know where Jordan's been. It's hard to tell what posts are Michael and what posts are Jordan. If this was a team with like Brad and somebody, we'd probably be able to distinguish between the two by the grammar, but I don't know how much involvement Jordan has had this year, but the record would indicate he's had a lot of involvement, but I don't believe that's actually the case.
Yeah, and really, for the most part, this team hasn't even dealt with that many injuries. Chris Sale's on the disabled list now. He's due back pretty soon. That'd be the one big one. Zobrist went on the DL recently, but I don't think that's somebody that you're really going to miss all that much from the lineup, as you might have found that out last year.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Just not a very good team, and I don't see it turning around anytime soon.
Let's go ahead and move on to number 9. I think this one's pretty obvious as well. Keeping it at number 9 is America. It's Team Adam. Adam this week, I think he lost 8-1 to Derek. So, I mean, I kind of bashed Derek's team last week, and it came up big. We'll talk more about Derek's team later on. But Adam, I mean, his team really struggled. Bryce Harper's on the DL. He lost Jose Abreu yesterday. A top 10 player so far. He did lose home runs just by 1, tied in steals, and some of the categories were fairly close. But he's in a tremendous hole as well, and I think you got to give him similar odds to what you gave Michael in making the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, hard to feel sorry for Adam this week because he didn't have a single. While he did lose some categories close, he didn't have a single category where you're like, man, I can't believe he lost with that number.
Yeah, that's true.
So, it is what it is. I mean, he did. I'm wishing I had played this team last week, but he had a little better results against me.
Yeah, it's weird because last week
he belongs towards the bottom.
And you wonder, I mean, it's kind of sad because Tulo has been on one of the biggest tears I can ever remember in fantasy, and he's really not getting anything in the standings to show for it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely frustrating, but this return to fantasy after his absence in football, it's not gone according to plan, and at least he is posting more than he was at this point last year, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's just go ahead and move on to number 8 because there's a good chance that Adam doesn't even listen to this podcast.
That's true. And there's a good chance I really didn't have anything to add. That wasn't obvious by my last comment.
All right, well, at number 8, this team has taken a big nosedive in my power rankings and a pretty big slide in the actual standings as well. I'm going to move Brad all the way down to number 8. Waiting room.
Yeah.
He's got so many guys in the deal. What was the final total before he started cutting guys? Was it 8? Maybe more?
Yeah, I think it was 8. He did cut 2 DL guys, though, right?
Yeah, he did cut 2 of them. I mean, some of these guys you can't really cut, like Jason Kipnis. You got to hold on to him. I think Rosario came back today, so that's one less. And, I mean, you got to hold on to Bruce, of course. It's kind of a tough situation. I know that Brad doesn't want to cut some of these guys like Joe Kelly and Sabathia and Dylan G. He thinks they might be back fairly soon. So I think Brad's just going to hold on to these guys, believe it or not.
Right. I mean, it's weird because he's second in the standings going into this week.
Right.
And
he's actually dropped down to, I guess he'll be in 5th place after this week if everything holds the same, and just a game and a half, or I'm sorry, 2 games out of 1st place.
Right. And his offensive guys have just been tremendous. And Stanton has kept it up, obviously. But it's just the injuries, and I couldn't help but, I almost got kind of tickled / oh my goodness, are you serious tonight? When Miguel Cabrera crouched down after he accidentally spiked himself.
I must have missed that.
You missed it. Well, he threw the ball to second base to get a force out and then kind of sat down on the ground for a minute. And I was like, oh my gosh, not Miguel Cabrera, not another one.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been insane.
Except that you were actually thinking, oh, please, Miguel Cabrera, because you're playing Brad next week.
Oh, yeah, I was definitely thinking that, too, but at the same time, I would have felt really bad for him, because I don't know what I would be feeling right now if I was Brad. I mean, complete depression, I don't know, but since it's Brad, there's a good chance he doesn't care or even know that half these guys are on the DL, so...
Yeah, this is mostly an injury thing, and of course he lost Jose Fernandez, who was, one of the top 5 best pitchers in baseball so far. Offensively, he's been awesome. This last week, 11 home runs, 43 RBIs, 8 steals, and a 319 average. So, Yasiel Puig, he's been dominating the last few weeks, along with Stanton and Freeman, and Cabrera's finally picking it up. So, he's got 4, really top-level guys that are playing right now, even with all these injuries.
Yeah, I have Adrian Gonzalez and Matt Kemp, right? So every time the Dodgers score, I'm like, sweet. And I go and I look, and my gosh, it's always Yasiel Puig hitting a homer, and it's just that's really what's helped me notice how good he has been doing. He's just been incredible lately.
Yeah, going into today, Puig, the number 1 player of the last week, and the number 2 player of the last month, and the number 9 player overall in the season.
Yeah, I believe it.
All right, let's move on to number 7. Number 7 in the power rankings, I've got Little Ben moving up from number 8. Number 7 team is Tugboat.
Okay.
So Tugboat had a little bit of bad luck this week with the offensive categories. He played Brad, who was red hot, which I guess you kind of expect that is the strong point of Brad's team, but it's got to be a little bit sour to have lost average with a 310 average, and he had 43 RBIs, which only got him a tie in the category, and he lost home runs with 10.
Right, yeah. He had a week that I would think it would normally get you a 7-3 win.
Right.
Something like that. And, yeah, I mean, he definitely was unfortunate in a couple categories. So, the thing that stood out to me with Ben this week is him pulling the first Greg Holland of the year with his
Francisco?
with Francisco dropping into the 2 days later, picking him back up $49. And I'll have to look. I can't remember who he cut him for.
He spent 49. He spent 49 on Francisco.
He spent 49.
I didn't even realize he spent waiver money on him.
Yep, $49 waiver.
Was there another bid on him?
I'll have to look. I don't know how to look at that really. Do you?
I'll check it while we keep talking about his team. The thing that stands out to me about this team has got to be Brian the Bulldozer. I mean, unbelievable how good he's been. I think he's got like 11 home runs. I think he leads the majors in runs scored too. He's just been unbelievable. Was a pickup.
Yeah, that's worked out good. I mean, every time kind of the same situation. Him and Mauer back close to each other in the lineup, and every time I see the Twins score change, I go, and gosh, it's always Dozier and not Mauer. So, he's definitely been a gift, and good for Ben. But it's 7 might be a little low, but
how do you think this is like somewhat sustainable for Dozier? Like, how would you compare him to Kinsler?
Not favorably. I mean, Kinsler's been solid, but I don't know. I don't know what Dozier's injury history is or anything like that. But you got to think a cooling period is coming soon, kind of like Charlie Blackmon had this week. He really settled down this week, and surely that's coming soon for Dozier. But you got to ride him while he's hot. So.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what Ben's doing with a couple of his guys like Francisco. And, anytime you get a power bat in that Toronto lineup that is finally starting to reach his potential, because he was actually a pretty big prospect and then kind of fell off, didn't really live up to it. You always got to take note of that. I mean, it might be nothing, but those Toronto, that organization seems to get those post-type sleepers and make them work out somehow.
Right, yeah. You're really right about, I mean... I guess Jose Abreu on the DL now, so Ben now has a complete infield of pickups. I'm sorry, with the exception of Ian Desmond, he is Devin Mesoraco, Justin Morneau, Brian Dozier, and Juan Francisco. So
and the utility guys too, with Melky and Miguel Montero.
Yeah, so he's only got 3 hitters in his lineup that were drafted. Although I guess you got to count Aaron Hill down there on the bench. I guess.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Aaron Hill's probably off of Ben's team in the next week. I don't see him being that attached to Aaron Hill.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I said I thought 7 might be a little low. When I look at the lineup, when you take Abreu out of there, it just it's not all that convincing anymore. And we all know that he gave up. What am I talking about? Adam has Abreu now, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He got Mike Trout for him, and the Mike Trout for Cutchin and Abreu.
How can I forget about that? Because Ben's trying to get rid of Mike Trout like he's, like he's Bobby Abreu or something.
Yeah, you got to wonder if this is the year where Mike Trout has one of those. He's kind of like Adrian Gonzalez in 2011, I think, where he just bounced around from team to team. Nobody really wanted to keep him, even though he was a great player.
Right. No, I think Trout will be fine. I just don't really want to pay the price. And
yeah.
You know me and the young guys.
Yeah, Ben's got a big asking price for him, as he should. But I think the offer he sent me the other day was he wanted Hanley, Encarnacion, Chris Davis, and I can't remember the other player, but it was another like top level player like that for basically Trout, Melky Cabrera, Ian Desmond, and some scrub. So I'm not paying that much for him.
Yeah, that's a little steep, no doubt.
All right, let's move on to number 6. Number 6 team in the power rankings this week. I've got Nick there at number 6, the lowest I think I've put him all season long.
Yep.
And, it seems a little weird, but I think he's actually, what is he, 6th now in the actual standings? Somewhere around there, isn't it? Maybe even 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he's 7th in the rankings, which, that's only like 3 games out of first place.
Yeah, that's right. According to the updated standings and stat tracker, yeah, you got that right. Yeah, just, I didn't have a much better week offensively than he did, but, he's just been consistently ugly. And it probably wouldn't have even mattered this week if his team had fully met its potential. Probably still wasn't going to beat you in any of those counting categories, hitting wise, but and plus the pitching went sour this week. So honestly, he probably should have lost 8-2. But 6-4 is not bad. But I believe in Nick, and Brandon thinks we're obsessed with him, I guess, and I don't know about that, but I believe in him in a way that I think he'll find a way to get into the playoffs, and you have him right there, right on the edge at number 6. So I think you tend to agree with that.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the offense. Obviously, he's definitely building this team on speed, average, and runs. Which it's pretty much punting home runs and RBIs with how extreme he's taken it. So I think he's averaging now under 4 home runs per week, which is, obviously it's not a category he's targeting, but still, I don't like to see that. The pitching has really slowed down the last 2 weeks as well. Andrew Kashner went on the DL.
But you know what he's not slowing down on is pickups.
He is not. What is he at, 30 now?
He is at 30, okay, and his brother is leading the way at 32. But it was another case of who was the Seattle pitcher that he picked up a couple times?
Taijuan Walker.
Yeah, he did it again with Rajai Davis this week.
Yeah, I think he had instant regret. We made that trade for Desmond, and if average holds up for me winning by 3 points in average, even though I traded and Beltran got hurt that night, that might have won me the category, because I think Jennings probably went like 0 for 8 on his team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, see, I think your matchup could change. This might be just silly to talk about, but I'm still not completely sure how oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Oh, Anibal Sanchez. I'm still not sure how Anibal Sanchez didn't get charged for a second earned run in the 5th inning tonight. And
they called it an error.
Yeah, they called it an error, but I still think that should have
been a fielder's choice.
It should have been like a fielder's choice, and maybe the runner on first wouldn't have counted as an earned run had he gotten around. I mean, I don't see how bases loaded, 1 out, you don't count that as an earned run, but maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, I'd have to do the math. I'm not sure if that would change ERA or not.
He's only up by .09 in ERA. Just something to keep an eye out for in the morning, because if that category did flip, you would be in first place all of a sudden. You'd be tied with me, but if you had the better last week, your name would be at the top of the standings, and we all know, not really that important, but it certainly makes you feel better when you see your name first.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I guess let's just go ahead and move on to number 5. Number 5 team in the power rankings. I've got Derek there, which is kind of a hedge, I guess. I've been disrespecting Derek for most of this year. I had him 8th last week. We started him off low when we began the season. And where is he actually right now in the actual standings? It's got to be higher than 5th.
Oh, sure, yeah. I think he is going to be...
He'd be tied for 3rd if things stay the same,
correct.
Which only a game back of first place. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being stubborn, but I'm starting to respect his A's more, obviously, more specifically, I'm talking about Cespedes and Brandon Moss. But I don't think it's quite as good of a team as the record shows. Do you agree or do you disagree?
I don't know. I mean, gosh, I really didn't pay attention to anybody else outside of my matchup this week. I mean,
He had a good week this week. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't the most amazing thing ever, but very solid all the way across.
Right. There's some. He's the one that has. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And you got to keep in mind that those stats that he has for the week do not include Alex Gordon, who was on the bench today, who went 4 for 4 and had 2 3-run homers.
Yeah. Well, I guess that wouldn't have swung any categories, but yeah, that definitely would have. It definitely would have helped. Oh, there's something about getting to 10 home runs too. If he had Gordon in his lineup, something about 10 home runs that really just makes you feel good about your week. But
so I mean, even with these, he had a really solid week, but it took a couple of. I mean, his A's went off this week. Adam Jones had a big week. I know Goldschmidt had that amazing game last night where he went. I think he had 5 runs, 2 home runs, and 6 RBI. So
I'm going to make a confession here at the risk of getting made fun of.
Okay.
But I don't know who Derek Norris is off the top of my head.
He's the catcher for the A's. I mean, they've got John Jaso there too. They kind of Derek Norris has been getting more and more playing time. The reason he had to pick him up is Wieters went on the DL, but Norris is hitting like 340 right now with 4 home runs or so. He's definitely playing pretty well, and considering what's out there in the catcher market or whatever, I think it was a decent pickup actually. It's a weird name. It's like that Tuffy Gosowicz guy you threw that name out yesterday, where nobody even knew if he was a real player.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's a real player. I mean, I'm just looking at that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess. I mean, you said he's been playing pretty well. I mean, he's 4 for 15 when it was. I don't know. I assume he was in Derek's lineup every day, but 4 for 15 this week with 3 runs and an RBI and nothing else. And the other pickup that he made recently didn't work out so well either. Todd Frazier in his lineup this week, 5 for 23 and nada.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I guess he wanted maybe some protection at third base because Machado has not been playing very well since he's come back from the disabled list. So I don't know if he's trying to play the matchups there or just pick up the guy that was hot in case he's thinking about cutting Machado if he doesn't heat up. I don't know.
I don't know what kind of protection 5 for 23 with no 0 counting stats is, but seems like it'd be. I mean, Michael Jordan could have used him. That would have raised their average this week by a few points.
Yeah, and if there's one area where I'm a little worried is you see that Derek had a very nice ERA this week of 2.89, but the WHIP is 1.
It doesn't match, does it?
No, it doesn't. 1.39 WHIP. Probably got a little lucky in that area. Even if it evened out, well, I guess America actually had a lower WHIP. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little worried about Derek's pitching staff more so than I was. I think that Verlander's gotten a little lucky. Shelby Miller's just bound to explode one of these days. He's got a walk rate of 5.5 per 9, and he's only got like a low 3 ERA to show for it, which is not going to work out in the long run.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's just nothing all that impressive about the staff. Yeah, it's Shelby and Cliffley and Chris Archer, I guess, right?
He's got Verlander too.
I'm sorry, Verlander's hiding down there at the bottom. Yeah, I guess so. Hey, and Lance Lynn. Okay, so
it's not a bad staff. I mean, I like Smiley. Yeah. Okay, I like Kazmir, of course. He's been great this year.
That's one of those moments where I wish I was the one recording the podcast so I could just edit that comment out. But,
yeah.
Oh well.
All right, let's move on to the number 4 team. Surging up to 4th in the power rankings. Got to go with you, Soldiers, myself at number 4.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, so if this holds up, which it's pretty likely to end up as a 6-4, but there's a chance that I could lose batting average if this goes to extra innings or something.
You're not gonna get that many at bats.
Yeah, it'd be pretty unlikely to get to extra innings at this point. But anyway, yeah, I mean my offense finally felt this is what I was hoping for. Not necessarily 15 home runs, but on draft night, I was going for power throughout the entire lineup, and I was just going to forget about steals, and finally hit double digits in home runs for the second time this year. So, pitching.
I just felt like every 5 minutes I had Stat Tracker open this week, I saw one of your guys hit a home run, and man, it was just crazy. I mean, congratulations. The pitching, whatever. I know that you said that.
Yeah.
That Rosenthal cost you 2 categories. It's one of those things where it's kind of hard to feel sorry for a guy that has a 4.48 ERA and 1.34 WHIP, but I definitely know those feelings. That definitely happened to me a lot the first 2 years we played.
That was the most frustrating part of the season so far for me. The Fox Tracks even had it in there. Usually, if it's even like 2 or 3 inches off the plate, they'll give them the call. Like if it's in the Fox Tracks box, they get that call like 99% of the time.
Right.
But
yeah, you're right. The box is usually the box I would say is smaller than the up strike zone. So usually if you get it in the box, you're doing pretty good. But
yeah,
Ortiz, welcome back. Encarnacion, he turned it on the last couple weeks, at least in as far as the home runs go. And my old boy Mark Teixeira, definitely keeping things exciting for you. So
man, Teixeira he's been great. I picked up Matt Adams hoping that he would have a 25-30 home run season. Teixeira is what I was hoping from Matt Adams.
Right. Yeah. Well, congrats on that. I mean, I've only done it a couple times.
Did you notice that I picked up another one of your guys tonight or this afternoon?
Oh, Travis. Man, you really are embracing that approach.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I was thinking about picking up Travis Wood last night, and it was kind of weird. I won strikeout by 1 strikeout. Okay, we are tied in strikeouts going into today. Nick has 4 starting pitchers, and I have 2. His 4 are King Felix, Anibal Sanchez, Little Zim, and I can't even remember who the other one was. And my 2 are Kuroda and Sangrani. So he's got 2 more guys than me. He's got great strikeout pitchers, and somehow I win by 1.
Yeah, I was definitely disappointed in that. I don't know how that happened.
I don't either.
He got a couple strikeouts from Addison Reed too. So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Jordan Zimmerman really killed him with only 1 K. And
I was really happy. At the beginning of the week, I would have taken the 6-4 all day because Nick had 5 2-start guys and I only had 1, and it was Kuroda. Really, really shocked at the strikeouts, how that ended up.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you're able to get a couple pitching categories on Nick, it's good because usually
he locks those down.
He tends to get at least 4 of those categories with his staff. But I think 4 is fair. I honestly thought you might jump the gun and maybe bet yourself at 2 or 1 after this week, after a 15-homer week. But you're keeping it reasonable. I'm proud of you.
All right, well, let's move on to the number 3 team in the power rankings. At number 3, I've got Andrew Maness, as you like to call him.
Andrew Maness. I'm going to call just a little bit of bullshit on this 6-3 win.
Really? I haven't looked at it. What's the problem with it?
It's just...
Oh, you're right. He got Michael this week.
Numbers.
Oh, wow. I might have slid him down if I had realized he was this bad this week. I didn't really notice that he was so bad. Brandon probably would have lost to every other team in the league, surely.
Oh, you would think so. I mean, yeah, whatever. 9 saves, that's all luck. Everything else, oh my goodness.
I guess the D. Gordon has officially slowed down.
Well, thank goodness. He needed to slow down because he was on a non-human pace. So he had just been incredible. So yeah, he definitely slowed down. 3 steals is definitely a little disappointing, I'm sure, but had the good fortune of going up against the worst team in the league so far. So 39 strikeouts. I'm curious how that happened. I don't feel it.
Man, that's like the lowest I've seen all season.
I mean, and this is a guy that has 32 pickups too. So I don't know what. I guess Kershaw. I don't know what happened.
I don't either.
That doesn't really make much sense to me. I guess anytime Drew Pomeranz is your leader in strikeouts for the week, that's not a great sign. But
surely he didn't have any 2-start guys this week. That's the only thing I can think of. But still, that's pretty low.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking. Nobody on here had 2 starts, and he had one guy go 9 innings, and that was Chris Tillman. Only got 3 strikeouts, and then obviously the disaster with Kershaw, and nobody else on his team besides Pomeranz had more than 5 strikeouts this week. So I guess that's the reason for the low total. I don't mean to obsess over it, but I just thought that was weird.
Yeah. On a positive note, Kershaw's never going to be this bad again for the rest of the season, obviously. And Alex Cobb looks like he's going to be back pretty soon. He was great before he got hurt, and was great last year. It's one of those guys that for some reason I never really buy into completely, but he's been great. So, that's going to only help his staff. I do want to say one thing about his offense. It just kind of bothers me that he puts Adrian Beltre the utility spot.
in a Jordan Haas, Miguel Cabrera fashion.
Yeah, I mean, does Pedro really deserve that third base spot over Beltre?
I don't know. I think Pedro's just one of his guys. He definitely had Pedro last year, so I don't know. I mean, maybe he's just trying to be cute. I don't know. Like Moustakas.
You took objection to the third place in the power rankings a little bit, it sounded like, and after I look at the stats, taking a little bit closer look at the lineup, I have some more concerns about the offensive side of things than I thought I did. I think I might have put Brandon a spot or 2, maybe 3 too high.
Yeah, I was going to say 5 sounded about right to me.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get a chance to correct that next week if he puts together another bad week. But
you just had one of those moments like I did on the preseason power rankings where we went through it, and then I completely disagreed with almost everything I did about 10 minutes later.
Yeah. Well, I was noticing most of the week that he had a pretty commanding lead over Michael, and I hadn't really clicked on the actual matchup, which is kind of bad work by me as I'm doing the power rankings, but not an impressive week at all. And an outfield of Christian Yelich, Michael Brantley, and Hunter Pence is not going to get it done all season long, even though that they are hot right now.
Right, yeah. Well, this is interesting. So that leaves us with 2 more teams, but I know that. Well, I'll just go ahead and say it.
All right. At number 2 in the power rankings, this might be something that you object to, Drew. I've put you at number 2.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
I put you down at 2, and I know it doesn't. I know it's weird because you beat Big Ben head to head.
And I was ahead of him last week, and I'm in the standings.
But I just think, I think even though. I think his week, what he had, was more impressive all the way across. You got a little fortunate winning ERA closely, and what he did offensively, I liked a little better. Now, if I do have one major thing I'd like to address about Big Ben's team, it's I don't know what you're doing benching Justin Upton all week when you've got Joey Votto and Carlos Gomez not playing games. That's a big concern, but he had really impressive stats, probably the most impressive from top to bottom in the league this week. But you still beat him 6-4.
Yeah. Okay. So wait a minute. Time out. Hold on. Whose team? Are we talking about my team right now?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I kind of went off there. We're talking about your team. So.
Because you start talking about Big Ben because you know he should be number 2.
No, I was just trying to justify it. I mean, he had a really good week. 12 home runs. See, you beat him in runs by 2, you beat him in steals by 2, you beat him in wins by 2, saves by 3, which is a nice. ERA were close with ERA .19 and .16 for WHIP. I feel like the categories that he won with a lot bigger margin. So.
Yeah, but it's not my fault that he had it. Okay. If you want to justify Big Ben's week, I guess, yeah, that's fine. I find it amazing that I came back and won ERA and WHIP after the Tyler Lyons disaster Monday night.
No doubt.
I mean, and plus Gio had a blow up yesterday, giving up 5 runs in only 3 innings and then taking a seat on the pine. So Yeah, I mean, I got lucky. I thought it was a good. I had a little battle with myself last night. You can see that I lost strikeouts by 8, and that was with benching David Price.
Oh, I didn't realize you benched Price today. That's a good call, though, I guess.
Yeah, so I was either going to play Price and make a pickup and go for strikeouts and hope I just figured no matter who I picked up, I probably wasn't going to be able to maintain that lead in ERA, so it would have just been a clean swap. So, it worked out pretty good. And by the way, good on Michael. He's having a bad season, but he at least was paying attention enough to bench Jake Peavy tonight so that he could hold on to Whit, which wouldn't have happened if he had played Peavy tonight against the Tigers. So
yeah, I mean, when you consider that Michael actually won 3 categories this week, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I meant that's something I meant to say earlier because if he hadn't done that, I believe Brandon would be in first place right now. So
nice job.
Yeah, just wanted to give Michael a little credit for that. So good on him for that. But
and that seems to be a change in philosophy. If I remember correctly, Michael was normally a guy that he doesn't take out of his lineup on Sunday night, no matter if it will affect the outcome or not. He usually says, I think he thought it was cheap or something to take guys out.
Well, maybe we changed his mind. I don't know, but I mean, obviously, if he thinks it's cheap. Yeah, I think you're right. I know that Joey was a big believer in not doing that either. So take that for what you will. Look who you're siding with, but offensively, we were disappointing again this week, and I don't know.
Well, you were, yeah. I want to address a couple of things about your team. Your team was bound to have a couple slower weeks offensively, and I think it was a good sign that Pujols and Agon hit 3 home runs today. Maybe their slump that they went over the last couple of weeks is over.
Save it for tomorrow, guys.
Save it for when it matters more.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess I needed to run, so I guess that worked. But yeah, what were you saying?
Yeah, so that's something, and I just wanted to know, can you name 5 pitchers for me that you would rather have than Johnny Cueto?
Oh my gosh, no way. Wow, what the heck? He is just, I mean, look, I've had a long day at work Wednesday. It was probably one of the busiest days in a while. I didn't do so well. I was feeling a little down. I was tired. I get in my car and I pull up Yahoo and I just see Johnny Cueto with another shutout. I'm like, it just turned my whole day around. I did a little fist bump in the parking lot as I was holding my cigarette, and it was, oh man, I just love that guy. He's been amazing, and if the Reds can at least help him put out a decent win-loss record, I don't see any reason why this guy won't win the NL Cy Young. I mean, other than if he pulls a Cueto and gets hurt.
Yeah, I know a few weeks ago we had mentioned that you're pretty much dominating, or at that time you were dominating all the offensive categories, but if I had to check again tomorrow after these stats count for this week, I would imagine that we would see that with the pitching stats as well. Pitching's been great this year. Great pickup so far with Porcello and Beckett. They've been lights out, and Zach Greinke and Cueto really holding down the staff, even though David Price has been disappointing and Gio got hurt today and has been disappointing. I kind of feel like that Gio is kind of one of those phantom injuries where they just pretend like something's wrong. They really just want to give him a couple weeks off.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't believe that at all. I mean, he did have a rough start out last time too, so maybe there's something to it. But yeah, they totally just, I guess, some other team did that this week. Or this season to a pitcher.
They did that to Cingrani basically. Cingrani was like, I didn't want to go on the DL. He's like, I'm fine. They put him on the minimum 15 days anyway.
Right. Yeah. Now Price has been really frustrating this year. He did hurl that gem against the Mariners earlier this week with 12 strikeouts, complete game. But outside of that, he's just been thoroughly unimpressive. And he's supposed to be the ace of my staff going into the season, and when I bench you on a Sunday to hold on to ERA whip, I don't really trust you, and so he needs to get his shit together, no doubt.
All right, well, I guess we pretty much already talked about Big Ben's team, so that concludes the power rankings. So to recap it, at number 10, we've got Crowder's Commandos. Number 9, America. Number 8, Waiting Room. Number 7, Tugboat. Number 6, The Balking Dead. Number 5, Run, Billy Run. Number 4, Used Soldiers. Number 3, Andrew Maness. Number 2, Two Thumbs Down. And number 1, Ragnarocker.
2 thumbs down, big time to your rankings of 2 and 1. Not that I deserve 1, but yeah,
You make a good case. I think he had, and what is Big Ben in the actual standings? I know he's pretty far down there after this week. Even though I put him number 1, I think he's around 5th or so.
Let's see here. He is actually going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in the standings.
Wow.
Yeah, bullshit.
I'm sorry. All right. Well, let's move on to the next segment of the show. The scrub moves of the week.
But hey, by the way, I just want to say real quick, 6th in the standings is 2.5 games out of first place. So, it's all relative.
Scrub moves of the week. At number 3, I've got Brandon picking up Seth Smith, then gloating about it, how we were going to make fun of that pickup, and then he cut him the next day prior to him hitting a home run each of the next 2 days. And I have to say, if you're going to pick him up, you might as well hold on to him with those games at Colorado.
Oh, man.
I know that his counter is going to be that they don't play him every day, but Seth Smith is a notorious platoon guy. Everybody knows that he only gets at-bats against righties, never plays against lefties.
Right. Well, I just said right, but I'm not really sure what you just said. I'm just saying right to the whole situation. That was, that's actually, I hate to admit this, but I actually missed all of that. Like, I don't know. I just don't have as much, let's be honest, when I was working at the storage facility, I just kind of fooled around at work all day and kind of did things like check Big Ben's team, see if the line set. And do all these stupid things. Well, now I don't do that because I'm still trying to figure out, how to do all the computer stuff at work. And during the day, I honestly, I feel like I don't know what's going on in the league. Like, I'm paying attention to my team, but that's pretty much it. So I'm glad to hear that story from you.
At number 2 on the scrub moves of the week, and this is one that I might need you to help me out with a little bit because I didn't fully check it. I mentioned it earlier. Big Ben. He's got, and you did catch a little bit of a break not having to go against Joey Votto and Carlos Gomez for a full week slate of games. But he left those guys in the lineup for several games with Justin Upton on the bench. And I don't know even if it affected anything. I know he didn't really do a whole lot on the bench. I don't know if he left pitchers on the bench or not. Can you expand on that a little bit?
He definitely left Burley on the bench yesterday.
Okay.
Wouldn't have done anything, I don't believe. Let's see here. Upton was 0 for 4 on the bench on Saturday. The only thing it probably would have swung is Ron. Upton 1 for 3 with no counting stats on Friday. Honestly, I didn't look much at Big Ben's team. I did notice the Burley thing, which is part of the reason why I considered going for strikeouts on Sunday. But yeah, it looks like it wasn't really that bad of an offense, but still, like, these are things a 5-year-old can fix. And I don't know how Big Ben consistently does this year in, year out. I understand being busy, but you still got to find time to take the 2 minutes. Actually, it doesn't even take 2 minutes. Take the 30 seconds it takes to set your lineup every day. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I gave one of the scrub moves of the week to Big Ben, the number 1 team in the power rankings. The last scrub move of the week, the number 1, I'm going to have to give to the number 2 team in the power rankings. Got to go with you streaming Tyler Lyons.
That's not the number 1 scrub move of the week.
How is that not?
He had really high rankings by Cockroft for his matchup on Monday.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Honestly, I even had considered picking him up, so I guess that's a little bit hypocritical. But anytime you stream a guy and he explodes the way that Tyler Lyons does it, it's got to be mentioned.
Yeah, it's incredible. Thank goodness my pitching I'm going to forget about Tyler Lyons, a few weeks from now because I came back and won 4 out of 5 pitching categories. But Man, that was just wow. What a bad taste in your mouth to start the week against the freaking Chicago Cubs at home. They weren't even at Wrigley. They were in St. Louis. So I don't know what that was about. That was embarrassing. That was a Clayton Kershaw type performance.
Yeah, Lions. He did that to me last year. I picked him up to stream him. He had pretty good stats on the year. He had a matchup at Miami. I thought it was a sure thing, and he gave up like 6 or 7 runs. Wasn't as bad as the game that he gave you, but I'm a little afraid to go after Lions after what he did to me last year.
It was one of those moments where, and I think you referred to it in your scrub moves. You didn't end up taking the bait on this, but there was a night about 3 weeks ago where I was trying to debate it between Jonathan Neese against, I forget who it was, but it wasn't anybody particularly good, and Jared Cozart against the Athletics. And Jared Cozart ended up giving up like 8 runs. I chose Neese over Cozart, so I made the right call. And then this Monday, I was debating between Colby Lewis against the Astros and Tyler Lyons against the Cubs. And obviously, I made the way wrong choice there. So isn't that right? Weren't you considering streaming Cozart for that awful outing against the Athletics?
I don't remember. I don't think I would have looked to pick him up against the A's, but I don't remember.
I feel like you gave yourself a scrub move of the week.
Yeah, that does sound familiar. Was it the A's though?
I think it was. Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but it's just one of those things. So that really slowed me down. I didn't really want to stream anybody after that. I just was like, I don't trust these guys, and so I kept Lyons on the team for the rest of the week, even though he's on the DL, just because I just wasn't going to stream anybody else.
All right, well, I noticed that you pick up Phil Hughes. Obviously, I had to go and check because that's kind of a weird pickup. Although his stats are pretty good, he's burned me several times in the past. Assuming that's just strictly for the at San Diego matchup.
Strictly, yeah. He's got a 2-start week the week after that, but I know that it starts against the Texas Rangers. So, although I guess it's one of those things where we get so involved with fantasy that I didn't even notice that the Rangers were 5 games below 500. I didn't expect that. Even with all the, I thought they were better than that. And just for the San Diego matchup. Although San Diego, it's strangely scored. San Diego, they've gotten hot the last 4 or 5 days. But
yeah, that's at Colorado.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. But weren't they the ones that blew up Jose Fernandez and pretty much put him?
They gave him the Tommy John.
Down here?
Yeah, but I think it was weird. I read that night that he had the stomach virus or something, and then the next day he gets Tommy John. So I'm wondering if that was just some kind of cover story about the illness.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess.
That would be pretty sweet to only give up 5 runs, though, when you're fighting through a stomach ailment and you had Tommy John surgery needed.
Yeah, well, at least he wasn't a big baby like Francisco Liriano and came out as
yeah, that tummy ache knocked him out of the game. All right, well, I guess we're pretty much finished here. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, are you following the NBA playoffs at all?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I checked out a little bit in the first round. Even though which sounds ridiculous because it was the greatest first round we've seen forever, seen it in a long time, and I've always been saying why do all these teams make the playoffs? This is just the first round is a waste of time, and then this year the script got flipped completely, and while most of the matchups went how we thought they would, we saw a bunch of game 7s and it went a long way. It's very exciting, and even though they're out of the playoffs, the Lillard shot's probably the thing I remember most about the playoffs so far.
So I'm assuming you're going for the Pacers in the East and the Thunder in the West, even though they are going against your Spurs. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Isn't that funny? We got 1-2 versus 1-2. From everything that I read and listened to the experts on these podcasts and on TV, I mean, I don't think anyone, even though it's 1-2, 1-2, I think nobody had this.
Yeah, it's kind of strange how it's worked out. So do you think the Thunder have a chance without Ibaka?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I mean,
I'd be surprised. I'd be really surprised if they won. I think the Spurs are gonna. I know that they historically have been a tough matchup for the Spurs. The Thunder have, but without Ibaka, I think it's gonna be really tough. I think the Spurs will win in 6 or so.
and does that mean that Kendrick Perkins is going to be getting even more minutes? I mean,
Yeah.
Man, it's so depressing. I'm still hoping for some sort of miracle, and maybe he comes back in 2 weeks or something. Or a week. You asked me the question, I didn't want to answer because I think I feel the same way you do. I don't see it. Although, if Westbrook and Durant can just go crazy for 4 games, then, Miami certainly, they'd have what's the word? Ibaka doesn't hurt them as bad against the Heat, I guess, as he does against the Spurs. Is that right?
I don't know. I mean, I think what we're going to see is I think they're going to place, Durant at power forward a lot more this series and go small ball.
Right.
I think that's one of the way they'll try to make up for Ibaka's minutes instead of giving Collison 30 minutes a night.
Yeah. The weird thing about the series is in the series that they beat San Antonio in 2 years ago in the Western Conference Finals, you know who was the big reason for their win? And I'm thinking about Game 5 specifically, was James Harden.
Yeah, that's true. I remember that. He had a monster game. I totally forgot about that until you mentioned it, but he had like a 30-point game and hit a game winner, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, James Harden disappeared in the 2012 NBA Finals, but he was awesome against the Spurs. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But so far, things are going nicely for how I'm reading. I was surprised to see Indiana come out and win today. I was very happy about that, which helped with some of the sting of seeing Alex Preston get eliminated from American Idol a few hours earlier on my DVR. And I've currently got The Voice paused, actually, on my TV right now, which...
Yeah, so who are you going for on the Voice?
The Voice?
Oh, yeah. So I guess it's hard for me to give who I like.
Yeah, I don't want you to say anything because I'm at top 8 week right now. So.
Oh, you're that far behind.
Yeah, I got 4 episodes.
Well, I would just say that my favorite, even from the beginning, has kind of been Christina Grimmie.
Is that the girl with like the 2 million YouTube videos or YouTube viewers?
I don't know which girl that is. Probably she's like 20, kind of small, brown hair.
Yeah, that must be who it is. Yeah. No, I guess he might be eliminated, but I guess I kind of like Josh Kaufman.
Yeah, he's good too.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's like 37 or whatever, but I don't know what that means.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're almost 30.
Oh, really?
Aren't you?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I'll be 30 in 21 fucking months. 21 months! Like, 'cause I was sitting down trying to budget for my house, and I was just like, oh, well, it looks like I can get this thing paid off by the time I'm 30. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 30. I don't know about all this. There's going to be a certain point where, do you think that I will ever get suspended again after age 30? You would think I might have matured a little bit.
You've been a lot better behaved this year. I haven't had a problem with anything that you've done so far, I don't think. Which is also surprisingly, it's kind of rubbed off on me. You see, I don't even think I've read of, I don't think I gave my customary go Nick or whoever's playing against you that week in your matchup box the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that was. I mean, you always did that, and then you'd never failed to point out when like one of the pitchers of the team I was playing against had a bad outing. You were always just like, of course. And yeah, that's been toned down a little bit. And if we can make it to October, that will be 2 calendar years without a suspension. So, which would sadly be a record for probably the last 5 years. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think those days are behind me. But Big Ben sure isn't making it easy, is he, with some of these moves?
I know Big Ben's got to be tempting you.
Oh, man. I mean, luckily I was playing him this week, but I don't know. I mean, if Big Ben cost me a bye in the last week of the season or something like that, I obviously we've seen how this story turns out, and I know I wouldn't get away with it, so I probably won't do it. But man, it would be frustrating. He needs to get his act together.
I don't know. I wouldn't be that surprised at this point if he misses the playoffs, even though I put him number 1, just because if he doesn't. I mean, if you're not going to consistently set your lineup, that's pretty bad.
I mean, why are you even playing the game?
Yeah.
And he's not even. I guess part of the thing is I haven't called him out for anything, so we haven't even gotten to see him at least respond and say, "Hey guys, yeah, you little piece of shit dipstick," or whatever he says. We haven't even I don't even know how much he cares right now.
Yeah, and like I mentioned the other day to you, he kind of rubbed me the wrong way with his response to trade-off for I sent him. So I was actually kind of rooting for you this week. I wasn't rooting for an 8-2, but a 6-4. I like it.
So you were fairly happy with the result, I guess.
Yes, I was.
How surprised are you about what has happened with Mark Melanson?
With Melanson?
I didn't think Melanson would get cut.
Oh, I mean, I have 5 closers, so Gurley's about to come back. I read a comment that a few days ago that the manager said when he comes back, he's the closer, so that's why I did it.
So now you have 3 guys that were drafted by me, right?
Who's the other one besides Wood and Teixeira?
Oh, you didn't get Latos?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did. I forgot about Latos. I did.
I can't believe you're going to the Drew Weddle well. That's incredible to me.
It's been working out great with the one pickup I've done. I picked up Wood because he's got San Diego on the road this week as well. So I'll probably hold on to him though.
Let's talk about something real quick because this actually lines up pretty good. We are 7 weeks into the season now, which is 1/3 of the season is in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew Maness is halfway through his allotted pickup. Well, okay, so if you save 12 pickups for the playoffs, he is halfway through his allotted pickups of 65.
Yes. And he's burned so many on streaming hitters for a day or two here or there.
Seth Smith, I mean, when you're over budget on pickups, which I almost don't want to even talk about it because I want to see him keep doing it.
Yeah.
But when you're over budget on pickups already, doing things like you do with Seth Smith, that's just, I mean, that actually, now the more I think about that, should have been the number 1 scrub move of the week.
Yeah, same here. Like, I think it's a big time scrub to waste the pickups, so quickly like that into the season. But at the same time, I just hope he keeps on doing it so I can stream on him in the playoffs.
Yeah, and now, just another scrub. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep carrying this thing on. We had this podcast at a reasonable length, and then just filled it up with nonsense here the last 10 minutes. But your opponent this week, the Walking Dead, the 2-catcher movement is back, is it not?
Well, I noticed that little Ben's got it going on with Mesoraco, who went 4 for 4 today, but I don't know who else has 2 besides America. Is there another team?
Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I got tricked tonight because I saw Mike Napoli on his bench, and so I keep thinking of Napoli as a catcher, and we all know Nick saw him as a catcher on draft night.
Yeah. Nick pulled a sly move on me tonight. It didn't work out, but it almost did. He had Mike Napoli and Rajai Davis tonight. Only could start one of them. And Rajai Davis was benched tonight, and I had 3 hitters going tonight, and I 1 point lead in average. And he pulled the old switcheroo on me the last second, benched his guys, and was just hoping that my 3 guys would hit under 258 for tonight to win the category. Didn't work out, but it was a pretty interesting move there.
Yeah, no, those are definitely interesting. I don't know. I mean, if we got Michael doing it, we got Nick doing it. The league outside of Big Ben and Brad and Adam really stepped up their game as far as strategy goes. So.
Man, I'm just looking at that. Going into today, tied in strikeouts with Nick. He had 27 innings, only got 14 strikeouts, and he's got a really good strikeout team. The other pitcher that I forgot to mention earlier was James Shields. I mean, it was unbelievable that he lost strikeouts.
Shields.
I had 2 more strikeouts than him, and my pitchers are Kuroda and Sangrani, and he had Shields, Felix, Zimmerman, and Anibal Sanchez.
Yeah, wow. I mean, most of these guys pitched okay too. They just didn't get the strikeouts. So
yeah,
that was certainly weird.
Anything else you wanted to add before we are done with the podcast? We are at the 1 hour mark officially now.
Officially, oh man, I was kind of hoping to keep it double digits. Not really. Just the league is, or at least the top 7, 8 should still be pretty tight. I imagine after this week. So, I guess we're still at the point where almost anybody could miss. I guess. I mean,
what's a prediction on your matchup with Brad this week?
I don't know. I mean, 7-3, I'd be fine with. I guess.
Yeah, I kind of see it. I think it'll go about 7-3, like you said. I think you're gonna probably sweep the pitching categories.
You never know. I mean, if his first 2 guys pitch well, that'll probably be half of his innings for the week. So it's just all depends. He could either have a great ERA and WHIP or really terrible based on the low amount of innings he'll probably get this week. So.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, but man, there was something I wanted to say right as we were closing, and then you threw the Brad matchup at me. I know what it was. I was saying with all these teams that bust up real tight in the standings, you have Big Ben as the number 1 team in the power rankings, and I know there's a lot of doubters on my team. Like Nick thinks that I'm going to drop out of the playoffs. If you had to pick one team as the absolute lock, you're betting your life on it, who's making the playoffs? Who's the number 1 team you say, that team is definitely making the playoffs?
All right, let me give you 2, because first, I'm going to go with my own team because I trust myself as a manager. I don't know what Brandon might do. I don't know if he's going to stack his team with Andrew Maness types later on in the season. Second team that I would, if not talking about my own team, I would probably go with yours.
Oh, look at that!
But to be fair, I feel like I've said that the last couple of years going into the season. We thought we were locks last year. We were both fighting for the last playoff spot all season long. You didn't make it. You didn't make it the year before, although that had some controversy around it. I like your team right now, though. I don't. You got a couple guys that are hurt that are going to come back and help. That'll help maybe some of your weaknesses at third base, and I like your staff a lot. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. We did both manage pretty bad situations pretty well last year. Like we did not deserve to even get a sniff of the playoffs, and I got a pretty good sniff for a long time, and you actually ended up getting in. So we probably had ninth place teams last year between the 2 of us, and one of us was able to get in, and the other finished 7th. So I still think we're towards the top, but I think Nick's in that class too, and Ben does pretty well. But I just find it interesting that you take us 2 as the top locks to make the playoffs. Yet Big Ben's your number 1 team in the power ranking. Right? Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how I need to figure out my set criteria of the power rankings. I just like his roster a lot. I don't really care for the manager behind the team all that much, but I like the roster a lot. And it's gotten even better with Cole Hamels back and Chapman.